Tom Miller never expected to die floating in space. As the maintenance engineer aboard the merchant vessel, Star Trader, he had dealt with countless repairs and system failures. But nothing had prepared him for the betrayal that left him drifting in his damaged repair pod, watching his former ship jump into hyperspace without him. The ship's new captain, Rogers, had seen Tom as a threat. Tom had discovered evidence of illegal weapon smuggling in the cargo hold during a routine maintenance check. Instead of facing exposure, Rogers had sabotaged Tom's repair pod during an external hull inspection and abandoned him in the vast emptiness of space. Tom's oxygen supply would last another 6 hours. His emergency beacon was working, but in this remote sector of space, the chances of rescue were nearly zero. The repair pod's thrusters were damaged, leaving him with minimal maneuverability. As he floated in the darkness, Tom noticed a faint light in the distance. At first, he thought it was his oxygen-deprived mind playing tricks on him. But as the light grew larger, he realized it was a massive space station, one unlike anything humans had built. The station's architecture was organic, with sweeping curves and spiraling structures that seemed to flow like frozen water. But something was wrong. Parts of the station were dark, and others flickered with unstable power signatures. Tom's engineering instincts told him the station was in serious trouble. Using the pod's remaining thrust fuel, Tom guided himself toward the alien structure. As he got closer, his pod systems picked up emergency signals, not in any human language, but the universal pattern of a distress beacon was unmistakable. Tom had a choice to make. He could conserve his remaining oxygen and hope for an unlikely rescue, or he could attempt to dock with the alien station. The station's power fluctuations suggested its life support systems might be failing, but even a failing station offered better odds than certain death in space. With steady hands, Tom activated his pod's manual docking controls. He might have been left to die, but if there was a chance to save others, even aliens, he would take it. That's what being human meant to him. As his pod approached the station's emergency airlock, Tom prepared himself for whatever he might find inside. He didn't know it yet, but his decision would not only save his life but also prove humanity's worth to a civilization that had never encountered them before. The emergency airlock hissed as it cycled, and Tom's heart pounded in his chest. His repair pod sensors showed breathable atmosphere inside the station, though the oxygen levels were dropping slowly. As the inner door opened, he stepped into a corridor that seemed to pulse with dim, blue emergency lighting. The gravity was slightly lighter than Earth standard, making his movements feel unusually bouncy. Tom checked his tablet, which he had thankfully kept in his repair suit. It was designed to analyze and interface with various systems, and even though this technology was alien, basic engineering principles were often universal. Suddenly, a high-pitched sound echoed through the corridor. Tom turned to see 3 tall, slender figures rushing toward him. They had smooth, silvery skin that reflected the emergency lights, and their large eyes widened at the sight of him. They were speaking rapidly in their language, gesturing with 4-fingered hands. One of them, wearing what appeared to be a uniform with complex patterns, stepped forward. The alien pointed to itself and made a simple sound, Rix. Then it pointed to its companions, Mel and Cax. They had chosen simple sounds, perhaps understanding that their full names would be difficult for him to pronounce. Tom pointed to himself. Tom. He then pointed to his tablet and made typing motions. Rick seemed to understand and pulled out a device of their own. After some quick adjustments, simple symbols began appearing on both screens, a basic translation protocol was establishing itself. Through rough translations, Tom learned that the station was a major power distribution hub for nearby systems. A cascading failure in their main reactor was threatening to cause a catastrophic meltdown. The station's engineering team had evacuated with most of the population, but these 3 had stayed behind, trying desperately to prevent the disaster that would affect millions of lives on nearby worlds. The aliens' technology was more advanced than anything humans had developed, but their approach to engineering was highly specialized. Each component was designed to work perfectly with the others, but when something went wrong, the entire system began to fail. They weren't used to the human approach of jerry-rigging solutions and improvising repairs. Tom thought about Rogers and his betrayal. Here was a chance to show that not all humans were selfish and cruel. He held up his tablet, using drawings and the basic translator to explain that he was an engineer. He pointed to himself, then to the direction of what he assumed was engineering, making a fixing motion with his hands. The aliens looked at each other, their silver skin shifting colors slightly, perhaps their version of emotional expression. After a brief discussion, Rix nodded and gestured for Tom to follow. They had nothing to lose by accepting his help. As they rushed through the corridors, Tom noticed more signs of the station's deteriorating condition. Power fluctuations were becoming more frequent, and the artificial gravity occasionally wavered. They had maybe 2 hours before the reactor went critical. Tom smiled grimly as they reached the engineering section. This was what he was good at, solving problems with whatever tools and materials were available. He might have been left to die in space, but instead, he had found a purpose, proving that humanity's resourcefulness and determination could make a difference in this vast, complex universe. The reactor room doors opened, revealing a massive chamber filled with pulsing crystalline structures and arcing energy. Tom cracked his knuckles and pulled out his tablet. It was time to show these aliens what a human engineer could do. The reactor room hummed with dangerous energy. Through his tablet's basic translation program, Tom learned that the reactor used crystalline matrices to harness energy from subspace. The current crisis had started when one of the primary matrices cracked, causing a cascade of failures throughout the system. The alien engineers had tried replacing the damaged components, but each replacement crystal shattered within minutes. They couldn't understand why their perfectly designed system was failing. Tom watched the energy patterns flowing through the crystals and noticed something the aliens had missed, a rhythm, like a heartbeat, but it was off balance. "Your crystals aren't failing because they're damaged," Tom explained through the translator. "They're failing because they're too perfect." The aliens stared at him in confusion as their skin shifted to a darker shade. Tom grabbed his tablet and drew a simple diagram. "Look at Earth's history. When we build bridges, we learn to make them slightly flexible. A rigid bridge breaks in strong winds, but a bridge that can sway will survive. Your crystals need to bend, not break." Rix's eyes widened with understanding. The alien rushed to a storage unit and returned with several spare crystals. Tom noticed tools that looked similar to the ones he used for delicate electronics work. With Rix's help, he began carefully etching microscopic channels into the crystal's surface. "These channels will let the energy flex and flow instead of building up pressure points," Tom explained as he worked. His hands were steady despite the increasing heat in the reactor room. The station's computer announced another warning: they had less than an hour before critical failure. Mel and Cax helped prepare more crystals following Tom's pattern while Rix monitored the reactor's status. The work was delicate, and one wrong move could shatter the expensive crystals. But Tom had learned precision during countless repairs in space. Sometimes, you only got one chance to fix something. As they worked, Tom told them about human engineering history through the translator. He talked about how humans learned from their failures, how they turned disasters into lessons. That made their designs better. The aliens listened intently, their skin shifting through patterns that suggested deep thought. Finally, they were ready to install the modified crystals. The reactor's emergency containment field would only lower for 30 seconds, they had to be fast and perfect. Tom took a deep breath, remembering all the tight deadlines he'd faced during emergency repairs on human ships. "Ready?" he asked through the translator. The aliens nodded, their skin now a pale, tense shade. Tom initiated the replacement sequence. The containment field dropped, and they moved with careful speed, removing the damaged crystals and sliding the modified ones into place. The reactor's warning sirens reached a fever pitch as the last crystal locked into position. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the energy patterns began to shift. The dangerous spikes of power smoothed out into steady waves. The modified crystals glowed with a stable, pulsing light. "It's working," Rix announced through the translator. "The reactor is stabilizing. The meltdown has been prevented." The alien skin rippled with bright patterns that Tom guessed meant joy or relief. Tom smiled as he watched the energy flowing through his modified crystals. The solution hadn't been about having better technology, it had been about understanding that imperfection could sometimes be a strength. It was a lesson humanity had learned through centuries of trial and error, and now they had shared it with another civilization. The station's lights returned to full power, and the computer cancelled all emergency warnings. But as the immediate crisis passed, Tom knew there would be more work to do. The station's other systems would need to be checked and adjusted. And he had a feeling the aliens had many questions about human engineering principles. The next few hours on the station were busy but exciting. As the emergency response teams began returning, Tom found himself at the center of attention. The aliens' translation systems were becoming better at understanding his speech, and he learned that the station was called the Hub, a vital connection point for 7 different star systems. Word of the human engineers' unconventional solution spread quickly through the returning crew. Many gathered in the main engineering hall, where Tom was working with Rix to check other station systems for similar stress points. Their skin colors shifted through various shades as they watched him work, displaying what Tom now recognized as intense curiosity. "Your approach to engineering," Rick said through the now clearer translator, "it is different from anything in our records. We build for perfection. You build for..." The alien paused, searching for the right word, survival. Tom nodded as he examined a power distribution panel. Humans learned engineering through countless failures. Each disaster taught us something new. We learned to build backup systems, safety margins, and emergency protocols. Sometimes, the ability to partly fail is better than trying to be perfect. The station's chief administrator, a tall alien called Pin, approached Tom with a formal gesture. "Our sensors show that you were stranded in space," Pin said. "Your own people left you to die. Yet you chose to help us. Why?" Tom's hands stopped working for a moment as he remembered Roger's betrayal. "One bad human doesn't represent all of humanity," he said finally. "Where I come from, engineers have a saying, fix what's broken, help who you can. It doesn't matter if you're human or alien, if someone needs help and you can provide it, you should." Pin's skin rippled with deep colors. "We have reviewed your repair pod's data. The ones who abandoned you were carrying illegal weapons through this sector. We have already sent alerts to nearby stations. They will be caught." Tom felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Rogers would face justice after all. But more importantly, he had turned a potential tragedy into something positive, a first contact situation that could benefit both species. The aliens were particularly interested in Tom's tablet and its adaptable interface systems. Human technology might be less advanced, but it was incredibly flexible. While alien systems were built for specific purposes, human tools were made to be modified, repaired, and repurposed. "We would like to offer you a position here," Pin said, causing a ripple of color changes through the watching crowd. "Our engineering teams could learn much from your human perspective. And we could teach you about our technology." Tom looked around the station. Just hours ago, he had been facing death in space. Now he had the chance to learn about advanced alien technology while teaching humans practical approach to engineering. It was an opportunity beyond anything he could have imagined. "There's one condition," Tom said, thinking carefully. "I want to send messages to Earth. Not about your advanced technology, that's your business to share or keep secret. But humans should know we're not alone, and that different species can work together. My story could help prepare humanity for peaceful first contact. Pin's skin shifted to a warm, bright color that Tom had never seen before. Agreed. Your story may indeed help bridge the gap between our peoples. And perhaps. The alien gestured to the modified reactor crystals, still pulsing with stable energy. Sometimes the best solutions come from combining different approaches. As Tom looked at the gathered aliens, he realized that his near-death experience had led to something remarkable. Humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization would be built not on fear or conflict, but on cooperation, teaching, and learning from each other. It was everything he had ever hoped space exploration could be. 3 weeks had passed since the reactor crisis, and the hub was buzzing with activity. Tom's presence had sparked a wave of changes throughout the station. The engineering teams had begun implementing his suggestions about backup systems and emergency protocols, while Tom absorbed knowledge about alien technology at an impressive rate. In the main workshop, Tom sat with a group of alien engineers, teaching them about human maintenance techniques. The beauty of a patch repair, he explained, drawing on a digital board, is that it buys you time to plan a proper fix. Sometimes keeping something running at 70% is better than shutting it down completely. The aliens, once obsessed with perfection, were starting to see the value in human pragmatism. They had begun creating their own hybrid solutions, combining their advanced technology with human-style adaptability. The results were impressive. Station systems were now more resilient than ever. But the biggest news arrived that morning. Pin called Tom to the communication center, where the station's long-range transmitters were picking up multiple signals. Your former captain's ship has been caught, Pin announced, skin glowing with satisfaction. But that's not the important part. Watch this. The main screen showed various news broadcasts from human space. Tom's story had reached Earth through his carefully worded messages. The footage showed crowds gathering at spaceports and science centers, excited by the proof of intelligent alien life. More importantly, the story of cooperation and mutual respect between species had captured humanity's imagination. Your people are responding better than our predictive models expected, Pin said, displaying data streams. We had feared panic or hostility. Instead, we see curiosity and hope. Your story has opened a door. Tom watched as more transmissions came in. Earth's governments were already discussing the possibility of diplomatic relations. The fact that first contact had happened through an act of engineering cooperation rather than military or political channels seemed to have set a positive tone. There's more, Rix added, joining them at the console. Other stations and outposts are requesting human engineers. They want to learn your adaptive approach to problem solving. You've started something bigger than just saving one station. Tom thought about how close he had come to dying alone in space. Instead, his skills and humanity's practical approach to engineering had built a bridge between species. But there was still work to be done. We should start a proper exchange program, Tom suggested, warming to the idea. Not just engineers, we could learn so much from each other. Human adaptability combined with your advanced technology could solve problems neither of us could handle alone. Pin's skin rippled with approval. Already in progress. We're converting part of the station into a joint training facility. The first group of human engineers could arrive within months, once the diplomatic channels are established. The alien administrator paused, displaying a complex color pattern Tom had learned meant deep thought. There is a human saying we found in your cultural database: necessity is the mother of invention. Your species turned its limitations into strengths, learned from failures, and never stopped trying to improve. These are qualities our civilization needs. Tom smiled as he watched more human broadcasts appear on the screen. His near-death experience had turned into humanity's greatest opportunity. The hub was becoming more than just a power distribution center, it was becoming a true hub of cultural and technological exchange between species. Walking back to his workshop, Tom passed the reactor room where it had all started. The modified crystals still pulsed with steady energy, a symbol of what could be achieved when different approaches worked together. In trying to save himself, he had opened the door to humanity's future among the stars. 2 months after the reactor incident, Tom stood in the hub's newly constructed observation dome, watching as the first official human delegation approached the station. The ship was small by alien standards but represented something massive, humanity's first diplomatic mission to an alien civilization. "Nervous?" Rix asked, joining him at the window. The alien skin showed subtle patterns that Tom had learned to recognize as friendly amusement. Over the past months, they had become good friends, each learning from the other's perspective on life and technology. "A little," Tom admitted, adjusting his new uniform. The station had created a special position for him, Chief of Human-Alien Engineering Integration. "I never expected to be making history like this. I was just trying to survive and help others do the same." The incoming ship carried Earth's ambassadors, but more importantly for Tom, it also brought the first group of human engineers selected for the exchange program. They would learn from his experience and help expand the hybrid engineering techniques that had proven so successful. As they waited for the ship to dock, Tom remembered something else significant. News had arrived yesterday about Rogers, his former captain. The smuggler's ship had been caught trying to sell weapons in a nearby system. Rogers and his crew were now in custody, facing charges from both human and alien authorities. "Your story has changed many things," Pin said, entering the observation dome. "Our council has approved wider contact with humanity. Your species' ability to adapt and innovate is seen as highly valuable. But it was your choice to help others, even after being betrayed, that truly impressed them." The alien administrator's skin rippled with formal patterns as they continued. "We have also received interesting requests from human space agencies. They want to learn about our station designs, while offering their experience with long-term space habitation. Your species has much experience with making hostile environments livable." Tom nodded, thinking about humanity's long journey into space. Every problem they'd faced, from radiation shielding to artificial gravity failures, had taught them something new. Now those lessons could be shared with an advanced civilization that had different but complementary knowledge. The station's announcement system chimed softly. The human ship had docked successfully, and the first official meeting between species was about to begin. But before heading to the reception area, Tom had one more task to complete. He led Pin and Rix to engineering, where a new display had been installed. It showed the modified reactor crystals, now the heart of a hybrid power system that was more efficient and resilient than either human or alien technology alone. Below the display was a plaque in both human and alien text, dedicated to the spirit of cooperation between species. "When we work together, we are greater than the sum of our parts." "A human custom?" Pin asked, studying the plaque with interest. "Yes," Tom smiled. "We like to mark important moments, to remind us where we came from and what we can achieve together." This station could have been destroyed by a rigid adherence to perfect designs. Instead, it became the birthplace of something new, a partnership between species. As they walked to meet Earth's first ambassadors, Tom thought about how his life had changed. 2 months ago, he had been betrayed and left to die in space. Now he was helping to shape the future of human-alien relations. It proved something he had always believed about humanity: their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their knowledge, but their ability to adapt, learn, and turn disasters into opportunities. The doors to the reception hall opened, and Tom stepped forward to help introduce two civilizations to each other. His engineering skills had saved the hub, but it was humanity's spirit of cooperation and innovation that would help them thrive among the stars. 1 year after Tom Miller had drifted alone in space, the hub had transformed into something remarkable. The observation dome, where he now stood, offered a view of both human and alien ships moving smoothly through the docking procedures. Below him, the station hummed with the energy of two civilizations working together. "Time for the anniversary ceremony," Rick said, approaching with a group of human and alien engineers. They wore matching uniforms that symbolized the Joint Engineering Corps, another of Tom's ideas that had proven successful. The alien skin showed the warm colors of friendship and pride. The main gathering hall had been decorated with symbols from both cultures. Engineers, diplomats, and crew members from dozens of ships filled the space. Tom smiled as he recognized faces both human and alien among the crowd. What had started as one engineer's desperate bid for survival had grown into something that was changing both civilizations. Pin, now the official liaison for human-alien relations, called for attention. 1 year ago, a human engineer proved that the greatest advances come not from perfect systems, but from understanding each other's strengths. Today, we celebrate not just the saving of this station, but the beginning of a new era. The display screens showed images from the past year, human engineers teaching their repair techniques to alien crews, alien scientists sharing their advanced technology, and hybrid systems being installed on stations throughout both territories. The hub had become famous as the birthplace of this cooperation, with Tom's modified reactor design now being studied at engineering schools on Earth and alien worlds alike. But perhaps, Pin continued, their skin displaying formal patterns, our guest of honor should share his thoughts. Tom Miller, whose actions made all this possible. Tom walked to the center of the hall, looking at the faces around him. "A year ago, I was betrayed and left to die in space," he began. "I could have given up hope. Instead, I found this station. I didn't know then that saving it would change everything, not just for me, but for both our species." He gestured to the engineers in their Joint Corps uniforms. "We've learned so much from each other. Humans have gained access to advanced technology we could only dream of, while our alien friends have discovered the value of flexible thinking and improvisational problem solving. Together, we're stronger than either of us could be alone." The screens shifted to show new images. Construction had begun on joint colonies, research stations, and training facilities. The success of the hub had convinced both species that cooperation was the path forward. Even now, ships were being redesigned with hybrid systems that combined the best of both engineering philosophies. But the most important lesson, Tom continued, isn't about technology or engineering. It's about hope. When I was drifting in space, I chose to help others instead of giving up. That choice led to all of this. It proved that even in our darkest moments, we can create something positive. As if to emphasize his words, the station's lights dimmed slightly, and the modified reactor crystals pulsed with their steady, harmonious glow. They had become a symbol of cooperation, alien precision and human adaptability working in perfect balance. Looking forward, Tom concluded, I see unlimited potential. Every day, we learn new ways to combine our knowledge and skills. Every problem we solve together makes both our civilizations stronger. And it all started because in humanity's darkest moment, we chose to reach out and help. The gathering erupted in applause, humans clapping, aliens displaying bright color patterns of approval. As Tom looked around the hall, he realized that his near-death experience hadn't just saved his life or the station. It had opened the door to humanity's greatest adventure, true partnership with another civilization among the stars. The hub continued its eternal orbit, its hybrid heart beating steadily, a testament to what could be achieved when different species chose to work together. Tom Miller had been left to die in space, but instead, he had helped birth a future brighter than anyone could have imagined.